Welcome to Talk with Toni. We're at Sip of Hope, which is a project of Hope for the Day. Jonathan Boucher, who's with us, is the founder, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself and then about Hope for the Day.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. We really do appreciate it. But so my name is Johnny Boucher, and I'm the founder of Hope for the Day. We are a proactive suicide prevention and mental health education based here in Chicago, but we have a massive footprint in 28 countries right now. And it's all because we believe in starting the conversation and raising the visibility of resources that are in those areas, but also directly connecting them with education, because we proudly provide peer-led but clinically backed mental health education all around the world.
Let me ask you something. Did you come to your passion for mental health from personal experience, family experience?
Yeah, personal experience is exactly that. You know, I'm like anyone else. You know, my life has been impacted by mental health and suicide, and the thing that really opened my eyes was in 2010. My boss, I used to work in the music industry. My boss, Mike Scanlon, who is a very, very successful concert promoter, he took his life. He jumped off his fifth floor balcony in Lincoln Park neighborhood. And sadly, it was the place that the Chicago Tribune wrote about him and praised him for his excellence. And they never wrote the other story about how, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that were just making Mike unhappy in life, and he was getting himself into a lot of trouble and filled it with a lot of voids. And one day decided that enough was enough. And when I found out Mike was, I call it like my Robin Williams. He was the one I wanted to become in the music industry. And so that day, I just decided I was going to change my life and do something different and focus on that, because Mike is number 9 on a list of 16 people that I've personally lost to suicide. And it's what you do with the pain, right? And so I decided to leave the music industry and start Hope for the Day and just be part of the mental health community, because clearly one thing that everybody had in common was they didn't talk about it, right? We don't like talking about mental health. It's not fun. We don't like talking about the bad days. We like to say, oh, I'm good, look at me courtside at the Bulls game, like no one wants to show when they're struggling. And we just wanted to start, by talking about it, and that's really where our slogan, "It's okay not to be okay," came from. And it's just because we want to let people know that it's okay to have these feelings and to live in that, but it's also okay to ask for help.
When I was 18, one of my friends committed suicide, and at that time, there was sort of no trauma care for people who were impacted, and it's something I've lived with since then, and in a way have never gotten over,
Yeah, it's because society and cultural stigmas, right? They hold us back. We all have to be on. We can't be messed up or crazy, right? Where if we just started all actually talking about it, we realize that we're all going through a thing called life, and that it's a roller coaster, and that trauma is real. And we know about trauma in the city of Chicago. The reason I was diagnosed with PTSD was because I, unfortunately experienced some gun violence. And
I hope you yourself hurt one of your friends?
No, I'm very grateful that I was able to get out of sight while there was a shootout in the Albany Park neighborhood right outside my house. And
oh my God.
What I did is I got inside and I just understood that this is real, and I didn't want to talk about it because I'm a big man who doesn't cry, right? Well, that's not real. We don't have to live in that world. We can talk about it, and I held it down for a little while, and then once I talked about it, I realized that I wasn't alone, and that you gotta practice what you preach, right? And
right.
So you can't pour from an empty cup. And that's what I realized. And it wasn't that I was in a place where I was going to harm myself or anything. I just knew I wasn't feeling right.
Right.
I'm not scared to go into neighborhoods in the city of Chicago. We proudly educate folks in many different communities across the city of Chicago. And we often are the ones that hear, oh, you care about Black people's mental health. Well, we care about everybody's mental health. And we're just trying to build the right resources and tools to support these communities right now. We've been doing it for years, but I've never lived in fear of going anywhere until then, and then I had to get back into that mindset of I can be safe wherever I go, but at the same time my feelings are real, and your feelings are real, right? You said you haven't been able to address it, but we're at a place now in society where we can talk about it.
It's okay to talk about your physical ailment. You break your leg, you hurt
Right.
your ankle, I've got an arthritic knee.
Oh dang, and everyone's like, you want some ice?
Yeah, right.
You call 911, right?
Right.
But what do we do with our mental health?
Right, and in Chicago, we do not have a sufficient behavioral health kind of social safety net.
Correct.
Which is what you're trying to help provide, right?
Yeah, here locally. You know, when we started really expanding our work around the world, it was important to me that when we started doing that, we were really able to focus on our home base here in Chicago. Because I tell everyone wherever we travel and do our work that Chicago is the best place to call home, because you get to see all different parts of the world in Chicago, and that allows us to connect even more. And everybody knows Michael Jordan and Barack Obama, so I mean it helps with that too,
Right.
where we travel. But it's just this message that we are just championing here, and so we really wanted to make the work that we do here in Chicago authentic, but also lift our partners up. You know, NAMI Chicago, AFSP of Illinois,
You should tell our viewers what NAMI and
yeah,
please, because
Yeah.
not everybody knows the nomenclature.
of course, yeah, no, absolutely. The National Alliance on Mental Illness and
National Alliance on Mental Illness is
Yeah.
NAMI, and the
Yeah.
other one you mentioned,
American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
American Foundation for Suicide
Yeah,
Prevention.
both proud partners of ours, as well as many other resources in the community. And so when we started looking at the work we do here in Chicago, we proudly have great partnerships with like Live Nation. So we're always out at Northern Island doing outreach at every concert, you know, when it's safe to do so. But we started looking at what could we do here that was special, that really paid homage to Chicago. And it was through coffee that we understood that there's so many conversations that are had about life and about work, about growth. And so why couldn't we just start that conversation around coffee? Because at Hope for the Day, we believe in meeting people where they're at and not where we expect them to be. And that allows us to invite them to the conversation instead of make them feel bad because they might be having a bad day and they don't feel safe to talk about it, right? We invite everyone. And here at Sip of Hope, when we opened our doors in May of 2018, we did not know that so many people were going to show up just because they felt safe here. From social workers to community members, we've seen people travel from all around the world to come have a cup of coffee here because their life has been impacted. And to me, I think that's our work shining, but also shining on the work ethic we have here in Chicago about sticking through it and working together. But we know we have a lot of work to do more here in Chicago.
Right. So Sip of Hope is a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm. Social enterprise.
A social enterprise. So what's a social enterprise?
So social enterprise is very much a business that helps support a social cause. So we see it with Goodwill, with thrift shops and whatnot. This is our version of that. This was also an opportunity for Hope for the Day to bring in revenue, because mental health, as well as many other diseases, just don't get the funding that we need really to do the work. So we thought about, well, how can we turn our work into a product and allow people to pull up or order a bag online, but receive something for supporting. And we're okay with that because the coffee's great, the mission's there, but also people show up here because they feel a sense of community that they maybe haven't felt in society. That's why when you walk into our foyer, still with our to-go window setup, we still have our resources available for people here in Chicago and in surrounding areas, as well as national resources, just because people need a place to go. People just need a spot to go before they maybe make that next step of reaching out to a counselor or reaching out for a friend or just, saying, you know what, I've been feeling some type of way and it's got these resources here. What can I do for them? Because our staff are trained in having those conversations at a peer level, nothing clinical, at a peer level, because that's what we need in society. There's more of that, definitely.
So your staff is trained to be supportive of people who come in who are challenged by the day?
Yes, absolutely. So we train our staff in a couple programs. One's called Mental Health First Aid, which is a program from the National Council for Behavioral Mental Health. And then Hope for the Day, we run them through all of our peer-led education workshops. And we do continuous workshops just because times are changing and we want to keep adapting to be able to provide the best. But also it takes a lot of opportunity for us to look to our staff and understand the community's needs so we can provide better resources over time here at the shop as well as online.
This is a year in which we're probably going to see a record number of suicides.
Yeah, it is, because it's already been going up. Scary enough, it jumped from 121 a day on average here in America to 132. And we're going to see a lot, and it's because a lot of people have been pushed into isolation. And one thing about COVID that I think is a fortunate part of the silver lining is that we're able to get to a place in society where we've all understood that we've been told to go home and that we got to stay there, and that our mental health has been shook up. We like to talk about it at Hope for the Day as like a soda bottle, right? I don't know if you drink soda or seltzer water. I love seltzer water, but we understand when you're shaking up that bottle, that pressure, right?
Yeah.
And then if you don't take that cap off and ease that cap off, what happens? It explodes. That's suicide right there. So what we really try to, guide in our mental health education is you have these tools, you have these resources to help take that cap off, because every single day your bottle's getting shook up. And before COVID, your bottle was getting shook up. Maybe now you're understanding what was shaking it, but it's what you do with that, and that you have the ability to ask for help. Because right now, more than ever, we have telehealth therapy that is at literally your fingertips of your phone or a computer screen that can connect you with a therapist or a counselor, so you can take that cap off and release some of that pressure.
In these immensely challenging times because of the pandemic, there's been more reliance in a lot of ways on technology, and support for people who have behavioral health challenges is available through telemedicine. Just for people who haven't heard the term or don't know, what does that mean?
So there's a lot of companies that have pivoted to utilize the same technology that either you do on FaceTime or any type of video chat with either your phone or your computer, where then you can safely from this couch in your house talk to your therapist or your counselor and still get that therapy that you need. Because what we've seen right now is that some people are very open to going out in society. Some people are not very comfortable with it. And so if you're wherever you are on that, if you build a pathway, right, build a bridge to something, people are going to travel. And so the telehealth therapy is phenomenal. I use it. And what's nice about it is you can do it at your own convenience. You don't have to worry about going outside right now if you don't want to go outside right now, because you maybe don't feel safe. You don't feel comfortable. So the idea is that you can be as comfortable and still get the therapy that you need. And many companies, all major service providers, are really pivoting to this. And there's resources on our website that you can find more about that.
So in an odd sort of way, the pandemic has promoted telehealth and in a way made behavioral health services more available to people than in previous times.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we've also seen that pivot too with Hope for the Day, because through our mental health education, we would always love to meet the community out at the Logan Square Library across the street. We do our education there. We do it all around the community, but right now we have to stay for our staff too.
Right.
And so in March, at the end of March, we pivoted to our digital education. And since then, we have been able to educate more people than ever through platforms like Zoom and Skype. And it's simply because, again, we're meeting them where they're at right now. They're at home, and I know everyone's eyes roll when they're like, another Zoom call, but our education department is amazing. They've made these fun and interactive, but also where people feel felt and heard. And that's really important when we're talking about mental health in general. And just to put some numbers to it, our goal for 2020 was to educate 20,000 people through our education, because last year we did about 14,000 plus, which we were blown away by that. But we're
is this suicide prevention, or is this
it's more mental health education, because you can't have one without the other. For so long we've seen suicide prevention be housed in one nonprofit,
sort of a silo.
Yeah, where we said, well, wait a minute, we got to talk about the same thing. Everything comes back to mental health, but we talk about suicide in this way that is reactive. We wait for another high-profile person to either complete or attempt, right? And then we don't learn from it. We are reminded of it on the year anniversaries, but we don't really learn from these opportunities. So we really feel that in order to be proactive, which is part of our mission, we have to put tools in front of people and invite them and say, they're right here, you come whenever you're ready. And that's why we provide them for free. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, you can find free education with Hope for the Day. And we're building more opportunities too, because we have a military program, we have a food and beverage program, and we also have all of these available in Spanish too, which is really important to highlight as well, because again, we just want to meet community members where they're at, because especially for me as a white privileged man, I can only speak from my experience, but I want to invite everybody, especially when we're in a country that's talking about building walls. I'd rather build more tables and chairs and invite everyone to pull up, so then we can find out how to serve them better and build better resources in their community that are appropriate for them, and not just a Band-Aid on a massive situation that you and I know we need to address. Right.
So you chose a social enterprise as part of your mission.
Yeah.
And how's that worked?
It's been working great. It's fantastic. I mean, to know that we open these doors without really having an idea of what we could do and the amazing things that have come from opening up this shop. You know, we ended 2018 by getting praised by, President Barack Obama, saying that I am one individual who inspired him because of this shop, and he loves knowing that this shop is in Chicago. Dick Durbin loves that this shop is in Chicago. JB loves that this shop is in Chicago, because this represents the truth about what we are in Chicago, working class, right? We're working community. But it's also proof of this is what we need more in society than ever. We need more safe spaces. We don't need necessarily more Starbucks. We need more safe spaces. And that's where people can come, they can feel understood, but they can also get more than a cup of coffee if they need it. But they can also get that sense of community with a good cup of coffee if that's just all they need as well.
Okay. Now, we in Cook County are strongly promoting participation in the census.
Yeah.
What does the census mean to organizations like yours that are trying to support behavioral health?
I think that in a time that we're living in right now, it's so important that we invite people, and I think the census invites people to finally feel felt and heard, which is so crucial in 2020. I also think that it's a tool that many service providers can use to figure out how to put better and more appropriate services in communities, like I said, that are more than just a Band-Aid. It's what the community really needs, and it invites them, because we will see our communities strengthen over time by meeting them where they're at, and not just being like, well, we're going to put something up on the corner and think it might work. But by building it with them, we can then work with them to nurture their community, which then helps everything. There's so many talks about defunding the police, reallocating all this stuff. It's got to be a community effort. One thing is not going to solve it all, but we need to start inside these communities, and it starts by listening to them.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure. Thank you.
I'm very grateful, and I thank you for your good work. As I said, suicide has impacted me personally, and probably there are very few of us who haven't had that experience. And
Absolutely.
It's a challenge.
Absolutely, and the truth is, the more we talk about it, the more we realize we're not alone.
Right.
So I look forward to talking more about it.
All right, thank you. And thank you for joining us for Talk with Toni.